So for the first part here, we're just going to talk about what is on this test anyway. It is about stretches and shrinks and moves, and if I gave you this, you should be able to say, that's a V shape because it's got those bars, you know, and it's been moved and stretched. Would you tell me what this means and what kind of a stretch that is? Don't say it, write it. Go off to the side and start with this one. Do you really think it's a good time to be texting?
No.
I'm really confident it's not. No, that's not what it is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Back. I'm not using it. Could you pick that up? Cereal? Just hiding it from me? Come on. All right, so I hope you knew this was right 3, and this was a vertical. How would you know that? Because it's high, low. Horizontal on the inside, vertical on the outside. So it's a vertical stretch. Raise your hand if you knew that. Good, you're on the right track then. Now, could you find for me 3 points that are on it? If you put in this, you get that. Now on this kind, some people are like, well, just always put in 1, 2, and 3. Don't do that. Pick things that would make the middle 0. Amelia, what is a number you could put in that would make the middle 0?
3.
Yeah, 3 would be the perfect choice. And then things that are near 3, like maybe 2 and 4. So 2, 3, and 4 would have been the logical choices here. Mallory, when you put in 3, what did you get?
0.
Good. I'll take a different volunteer, and if you've participated a lot, I stop calling on you, so get your participation over with. What happens if you put in 2, for example? Yes. You get 2. Why not -2, though? Because isn't it a -1 on the inside?
It goes to opposite.
Absolute value makes it turn out positive. Very good. All right, how about the 4? When I put in a 4, I'll do that one. 4 minus 3 is 1. Absolute value of that is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Now, before I actually graph those, I want to just sketch it. The best way to do this is not to just slavishly graph your points, because what if you made one of them wrong? Then your points are going to get all screwed up. So would you agree this has a V shape to start with? Do you at least know that? The absolute values are V shapes? Do you then know that it's right 3? So therefore it moves over here-ish? Are you with me so far? Then that vertical stretch, that makes the V be more stretched like this. It's like you grabbed it with your hands here and pulled up. And it looks like the green one. Now, how do I know it looks like the green one? Watch what happens when I graph these points. 3, 0, right there. 2, 2 is like right there. 4, 2 is like right there. And all my dots are showing up right where I expected them. So the problem that some kids have is they graph, they have an XY chart and they have all these things and they graph them and they're like, but I don't understand like what the graph is. Well, if you know that it was a square root, you should have known this was going to be a square root that was moving like that. So if you look at the graph ahead of time and go, oh, it's a square root, so I know it's going to move that way. But my square root has been stretched. Let's say I put a 2 here, and then on the outside it was moved up 1. You should be like, I know it's a square root that's been stretched and moved up 1, and that's what this looks like. But if I need actual points, can you make actual points? Everybody right now, find me actual points. Hint, square roots are not nice. You only pick certain things. And if you put those special things in, they're called perfect squares. Then they work nice. Volunteer, get your participation part over with. Once you've participated a couple times, I stop calling on you. Grace.
0 and 1.
Wait. If you put in a 0, you get what?
I didn't like.
Oh, okay. If you put in a 0, that's a good call because square roots of 0 work nice. And then square root of 1 works nice. I see what you're saying. 0 and 1 are good things to put in. And so is 4. And so is 9. I like all of those. Good choice. So those are good X's to put in. Everybody put in those 4 and be ready to be called on to see what you got. Because you got to times it by 2 and add 1 and you get the final answer. Pausing. Put in 0. Then you go 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1. Did you get 1?
Yeah.
Then what'd you get for 1?
3.
Correct. What'd you get when you put in 4?
5.
Oh, I thought you were saying a different word. Okay, 5 is correct. And then when you put in 9?
7.
Raise your hand if you guys had the same thing as him. Okay, awesome. Do you get that if you graph them, look, it matches 0, 1, over 1 up 3, over 4 up 5, over 9 up 7, and those kind of match. Kind of what I expected it to do. Okay, yes. Yep. Wait. First you got to times by 2. There was a 2 in front of it, right? See that 2 right there? So when you put in a 0, you got the square root of 0 is 0. Times by 2 is still 0. And then add 1. That's how we got 1. Okay? All right. Then you put in 1, and then again you times it by 2. And then you add the 1 at the end. The reason we times first is because PEMDAS makes me multiply before I add. So I got to times it by 2 first. All right. So another typical test question. You ready? What are all the changes that I did to this it was a quadratic, as in it was a parabola that got moved where? And what's that? And what's that? And what's that? And what's that? There's 4 different things, and you have to use the accurate words. That's the thing I'm most scared about. Is somebody's going to say flip instead of reflect, or somebody's going to not say horizontal or vertical. I got to know, is it horizontal or is it vertical? And ups and downs can just be that. Rights and lefts can just be that. But anytime you have a stretch or a reflect, those have to say whether they're horizontal or vertical. Okay, try to answer those 4. I'll pause for a second while you try that. Okay, let's see how you did. Lily, can you tell me one of those 4 changes?
Vertical stretch.
Vertical stretch, you are correct. And I'd like you to say at a minimum by 2. I'm going to say BFO by a factor of 2. Don't just say vertical stretch. How big of a stretch? Factor 2. All right, the next one is this negative in the front. Avia, do you know what that was? Okay, so on the test, better write this one down. Reflect. And there's 2 kinds of reflects. How do you tell? Horizontal on the inside, vertical on the outside, both in the front and the back. Those are both outside. Hint, all of this is considered inside. So, Avia, what kind of reflect is it? Because, look,
It's outside.
it's not outside. I just highlighted it. I know how I get how that's confusing.
That one's inside, sorry.
Yep, so it's inside, so therefore it is a horizontal reflect. Who had that perfect? Horizontal and reflect. Okay, good. All right, next up. Max, can you tell me what this 4 is doing right there?
Left 4.
Left 4 is correct. And last but not least, the 7. Mallory. Up 7. Very good. The ones I'm most scared of would be that and that. And you know for yourself whether or not you had that or not. Okay. Now I'm going to give you another one. In this one, the brutal part is just picking good numbers to put in it. I want you to do the square root of 1/3 x. And I want to know 3 numbers that would work. Now, I've always said to try to make it 0 on the inside, that will work for one of your points. But you got to think like, what could I put here so that when I multiply it by 1/3, hint, do you get multiplied by 1/3 is like dividing it by 3? You're going to take whatever your x is, and it's like you're going to divide by 3. All right. So pick good x's that work nice. Because if I just pick something random like 7, 1/3 times 7 is 7/3, and then I got the square root of 7/3. I have no idea what the square root of 7/3 is. So you better pick things that are going to divide by 3 nicely. So not 7. Who can tell me one thing that would work nice? Yes?
6 or 9.
All right. 6 does work, but the problem is that then all of a sudden you have the square root of 2, and that doesn't work out nice. So I know, pain in the butt. 9? 9 does divide by 3 nicely, but then I have 3, and then I got to do the square root of 3, and that doesn't work nice. So 9 isn't even good. So what the heck are you going to do? Everybody think for yourself. There is 3 numbers that you could put in that can be 1/3 of them is easy, and then they square root. The difference for people that can get this, you could possibly get an A on the test. For people that can't handle this, you're not. Okay, so this is serious. Try at your best. Give me one that works, not more than one.
3.
3. You're saying if I put in x is 3, that'll work nice, and you are right. Now, you'd have a calculator, I think. No, wait. Was this one that we decided? No, I remember. This is a weird one, and the test is tomorrow. You are allowed to use a calculator, but it can't be a graphing calculator. And if that's you're like, that's my only calculator. Well, I'm sorry, you can't use a graphing calculator because it'd be too easy if you knew how to be able to just type that all into your calculator and it would tell you all the points on it. Like, that would be a big advantage.
Can we use our iPad calculator?
I am going to allow the iPad calculator. So everybody's got an iPad. So if you got one of those, you're going to be able to use your iPad calculator. Okay. So the only thing is it has to be flat on your desk so that if you have it tilted up, you could hide stuff from me and be texting somebody answers and stuff. So just have it only on the calculator. It can't be on anything else on your iPad, and that will be allowed tomorrow. If you'd rather just bring a regular calculator, you can. It just can't be a graphing one. So your calculator would tell you what 1/3 of 3 is, but I'm a little scared that some people don't know how to put that in the calculator. To be sure you're doing it right, I'd put it in a parenthesis. If you put it in a parenthesis, then 1 divided by 3 works if you put it in a parenthesis. But I can't promise you, for the rest of you that are like, I don't know how to put in fractions, put it in parentheses. Then it'll work. So what the heck is 1/3 times 3? It's 1. And then the square root of 1 is 1. Who had 3, 1? You were correct. Now what's another one? Somebody must have Jackson. 16? 1/3 of 16? All right. Thank you for trying. 16 does not work well. I'm sure you could probably force it to work. Kennedy. 12. He's right. Because why? Because when you do 1/3 of 12, it'll work out nice. If you don't know how to do that, maybe practice. Your iPad's calculator could be pulled up right now and see what happens when you get a 12 in there. It'd be a really good thing if you realized you don't know how to make it work. So grab your iPad's calculator, figure out what 1/3 of 12 is, then do square root. Maybe you don't know what the square root key is. I can help you with that now. But on the test, I can't say, here's exactly what to type. Otherwise, I'm doing the test for you. So you can ask me if you're stuck on your calculator today. Ask me that today, not tomorrow on the test. Pausing. Good. So we got 2. Because we did 1/3 of 12, which, like I said, if I know it'll work if you put parentheses around a fraction like that. 1/3 times 12. Then you get 4, and then square root of 4. Do you guys, I know simple things, square roots you'll be able to do, but if you need to know where the square root key is on the calculator, ask me and I can show you. Okay, who found one more point? And I give you a hint. It's super easy. Hell, 0 is correct. Remember how I said make the middle part 0? That works. If you put a 0 right here, then 1/3 of 0 is 0, and the square root of 0 is 0. 0, 0. And then if I actually graph it, what should it look like? Well, it looks like a square root. But it's been stretched, but stretched with a 1/3. I have no idea what that looks like. Well, let's look at it. Over 3 up 1. Over 12 up 2. And 0, 0. It's just a little lower than the normal square root, which would be like there. It's just been stretched, like you grabbed it and stretched it. I get how this one's a weird looking one, but the hardest ones are when there's fractions on the inside. So let's try one more like that. Absolute value of 1/4 x plus 2. Find me 3 things that are on this, and I'll know you have a good hope tomorrow. Find me 3 points that are on that. Pause for a second while you try that. Okay, so I hope you picked numbers that you could take 1/4 of pretty easily. Like, for instance, 1/4 of, say 1. -4 would work, and I'll do that first. 1/4 of -4 is -1, and then you absolute value that, and you get 1, and then 1 plus 2 is 3. Now, I doubt many people picked negatives, but that was smart. Now, I'd also could pick regular 4, and 1/4 of regular 4, just positive 4, is 1, and then 1 plus 2 is 3 again. And then somebody said 0. That's smart. Make the inside 0, and then you get 2. That would have been good enough. That's 3 points. Could I have also done like 1/4 of 8? Did anybody pick 8? That'd be smart. 1/4 of 8 is 2, and then you add 2 is 4. All right, I think you get the idea. This one, though, had a horizontal what? Seems like a shrink, but the things on the inside are opposite of what you would expect. Horizontal stretch. That's weird, I know. And then up 2. All right, we'll talk more after you come back from lunch. Okay, we're back from lunch. And when we left for lunch, we had just figured out that these points would be good ones to graph. And so I'm just going to show you that it actually shows up where we expected it to show up. We expected this to be a V shape because it's got the absolute value bars. V shape. Here's where V shape is. That's a normal V shape. But it's got a horizontal stretch and it's moved up too. So do you get, I think it's going to be up 2 for sure. And I'm not sure exactly what that weird stretch is going to do to my V, but I can graph these points and find out. 0, 2 is right there. 8, 4. Well, that's not actually very steep. It's almost like the V shape got way wider than it used to be. Well, that's what that weird 1/4 on the inside does, is it makes it 4 times as wide. That's why my V shape here is very split up. Like the V is opened up a lot. Okay, so if I go over 4 and up 3, that might be like there. And I have a bunch of points and they look generally like that. Cool. All right, so one more thing that I haven't talked about very much, but you have to know how to do. Sketch this and tell me its domain and range. I'll remind you, these involve infinity a lot. It's not all infinities though. So make a sketch. Is it a V shape? Is it a U shape? Has it been flipped over? Because that would totally change the domain and range. Did you know it was a V shape moved left too? Raise your hand if you knew that. Good. Now, domain. Domain, if you want, you can make notes on this to review right before the test. Domain is left, then right. So how far to the left will this function go? What's the furthest to the left that you can go? Negative infinity. Good. What's the furthest to the right that this function can go? Infinity. All right. Better take notes on this one. Because domain and range is like for sure on this test, and we haven't talked about it that much. The range is how low to how high. And it's very easy to do that backwards. But these these little answers always have to be smallest number first and then to the bigger number. What's the lowest that my function goes? There's two answers that are logical. -2 or 0. But how low it is like the y value. So let's get this point. It's something comma something. That point is at -2 comma 0. Hint, range is about the y value. So what's the lowest it goes? Say it if you know it. 0 is correct. How high does this function go? Well, look at it. It's going up. It's going to keep going up. So what do you put when your answer is going to keep going up? Infinity. There's your domain, which is left to right, and your range, which is low to high. Maybe make notes on that if you're not awesome at that, because right before the test you can kind of remind yourself how that works. Okay. Next, if I give you this equation as my parent equation, and I say, write me one that goes right 5 and vertically stretches by a factor of 3. Can you make the equation for me? It starts with absolute value of x, and then you got to add some stuff to it. You know, put something on the inside, put something on the outside. So did you know that this was absolute value still, but it's been moved right 5, which is a -5? Who knew that there was a -5 on the inside? Okay, good. And what the heck, Savannah, do you know this by a factor of 3 thing? Where should I put what? Do you know this part? Vertical stretch by a factor of 3. I was asking Savannah, actually. Do you know, Savannah? If you, you got it. That's exactly where it goes. That makes it a vertical stretch because it's on the outside. Vertical on the outside. If you're on the inside, that's horizontal on the inside. Okay, cool. Next, if I just gave you a problem where it said graph it, don't even do it. Just tell me, if I had to graph this, the first thing you should do is just sketch it. Where is it? It's a parabola. Where, though? Where does it go? Up 6. Would you agree it kind of looks like that? That's what you do first then. You little sketch. And then XY chart where you put in any numbers you want. What makes the inside 0? 0 does. So that's a good call. Because the inside of this function, if I put a 0 in there, it works pretty good. Y equals 0 plus 6 is 6. And then I put in a 1. I get 1 squared is 1 plus 6 is 7. Turn it into 2. 2 squared is 4 plus 6 is 10. And then maybe even throw in a -1. Notice all my numbers are around 0 because that's what made the inside 0. -1 squared is 1. 1 plus 6 is 7 again. And then if I graph those, I'll have it. I feel like you're going to do okay on this, but I'm not going to know for sure until we actually take this test. This is the one I'm most scared for you on. And that is, if I gave you a flipped upside down square root symbol like this, and I said it was moved down 4, could you write the equation for that? Here is a bad attempt. XX squared, because, you know, that's a parabola. It's not a parabola, but if it was. And then there's a minus. Oh, I'm not sure where to put the minus. And then I'm going to put a 4 on the inside. I mean, this is wrong on so many levels. It's kind of like that, though. Can you write me an equation like that? Liv, do you think this is an x squared or an absolute value or what? Square root. Very good. So it's a square root problem. So I'm going to go put a square root in here. And then, Grace, do you know what I should do besides have an x here?
Have a negative on the outside.
Yes, because it used to look like this and it flipped over up vertically, so I put a negative on the outside. Very good. And if you had that, I'd cry a little bit and mark it wrong because there's still something missing. Quinn, do you know?
Put a -4 on the outside.
Yep. Because the whole thing's been moved down 4. There's the equation for that. Who would have had that one right? That's a lot of you. Okay, awesome. All right. One last kind. If I give you a chart and I say these are the points that were on it in the first place. 1, 1, 0, 0, 2, 2, -1, -1. What the heck is that? Well, I could always graph it and see what it was. You know what? I'm going to do a different one because I think a lot of people are going to get confused by this one. I'm going to do one that I think you'll recognize more. 2, 4, and 3, 9. Okay. And maybe even -2, 4. That is one of the parent functions. You just might not know which one it is. But if you think about it, maybe even sketch it, you could figure out what it was. What if I did this to it? Can you tell what I did to it? Did I move it to the right? Nope. Did I flip it? Nope. Did I vertically stretch it? Yep. It was a vertical stretch. Why do I know? Because look at all the y values. Look at how all of them doubled. So if you doubled all your y's, that one was a vertical stretch. So that would be like, I take the parent one, which, by the way, did anybody figure out by graphing it? If you would have graphed it, it would have looked like this. And you'd been like, oh, I guess that's the parabola. And then if you would have graphed this one, you'd have been like, oh, it still looks like a parabola, but it's stretched more. 2x squared. That was the equation for that one. See what just happened there? I doubled all my y's. So that was a vertical thing because all the y's got doubled. Okay. All right. So I feel like you're going to be fine, but we'll never know until you do the practice. So there's a word review test, or not test. It's a worksheet, but I recommend strongly that you do it and that you check it. And I'm going to ask that you show it to me tomorrow because I want that accountability. I'm going to walk past and go, cool, you did it. Cool, you did it. Oh, crap, you didn't do it. Now let's see how you did on your test. Okay, so do it. I'm going to have it up on your iPad as I walk around and hand out the test so I can go, oh, crap, you didn't do your homework. Now I'm afraid your test is going to bomb. All right, so do your homework. All I'm saying is I'm going to visually look at it tomorrow. So do it. That's all I got for you for the video for today. Let's open up that homework. It's a worksheet, and there's an answer key for it. All right, we got a bunch of time left to work.